inter-Africa trade is about 18 to 20%. So it's very low. So that gives you a picture that as Africans, we enjoy trading with others more than we enjoy trading with ourselves.
At the moment, I think the intra-region trade in SADC is just about 23%. So we are trading more with outside than within the region. That provides an incentive for neighbors to trade more. You don't have Malawi, you don't have to go all the way to Brazil to buy maize when you can get the maize from Tanzania or Zambia if they have it.
How do we trade within Africa? How do we deal with the issue of the 90 billion US dollars that we have got to import in terms of food, when within the continent we can be able to produce and even trade amongst ourselves in terms of that? I mean, 90 billion US dollars circulating in Africa is a lot of money and would be able to prop up quite a lot of economies.
And some of it has to do with infrastructure. It's much easier for you to take things to a port nearby and it goes all the way, out of the continent.
If you have got to do trade in Africa, your truck is likely to move at 6 kilometers an hour. That is the problem. You're dealing with perishable products. You're dealing with products that would go off if you don't reach the destination in time. You're dealing with products that would need to maintain the cold chain. And therefore, it becomes very difficult to deal with these issues, especially when you deal with perishable products.
There are some countries where you would find that maybe they drive on the left, others drive on the right. And they are not allowed to go in another country and swap lanes. So you'd find that they get to a border and they have to swap trucks, as an example. That's a regulatory issue, which can be resolved quite quickly. But the cost of moving goods from one truck to the other, just because one drives on the left or the right, is quite expensive there. And somewhere along the way, there's going to be a loss.
If you deal with grains, the adoption in terms of technology is not the same over in Africa. In other African states, quite acceptable that they would not be amenable to using of GMOs. That is trait that you would basically use, whether you lose in terms of maize, and you lose in terms of soya.
SADC has got a number of tools to encourage trade. There's a SADC Trade Protocol, I think, which was came into force, I think, in 2008, if I have not forgotten. So that is used to make sure that trade among and between member states is free or doesn't have the encumbrances of tariffs and other things. We spoke of one border stop to facilitate trade so that goods don't take forever from one country to another.
So harmonization of policies and alignment of various regulatory structures is always important in this space. When you look at the SBS, that's very important in order to have food safety issues, how the bureaus of standards can work together in a more aligned way, so that when a test is done in Zimbabwe, it applies in another country. So those are some of the works that have to be done. And the government really is the competent authority. So they need to work on their implementation capacities and work with other governments to be able to come up with the right regulations that fits the standard for everybody.
So there is a regional program which is facilitating the SPS issues, so that importing and exporting countries already know what is required for you to import between the two countries. Another thing is maybe poor information systems. You know that developed countries or middle-income countries like Brazil are very aggressive in marketing their products. So in our region of forums, we're able to show, and we've come up with an agricultural market information system we should be able to show you what is in one country, what can you import in one country, under what quantities.
We have seen over time that trade in Africa is actually moving and following major supermarkets. And it's about time that we say, how do we then utilize these supermarkets in various countries to then be the ones that are actually facilitating trade, inter-Africa trade.
We also understand there's a huge informal sector doing a lot of cross-border trading. That also needs to help. We need to see how then we can get those people into more streamlined kind of trade and ensure that we capture them. We know who they are and where they are found. So then as we create policies, then they'll be able to benefit from that. So those are some of the works that we need to do, but infrastructure is key in terms of how we improve trade around the continent. Yeah.